Hi, this is SoundPix, and this is my first project overview video, so maybe it won't be well directed and a little bit random, but I would like to help other people make better music with the help of Cubase. And in this video I will show you my workflow and stuff I do when I make music. First thing I wanted to show you that while making music, as you can see, there are a lot of backup files, and also while making music from time to time I make a new copy, a new version of a track, because sometimes I want to roll back. Maybe I did some not very successful changes, not very good decisions, and I would like to go back, so I keep versions of my project. Sometimes I can create a random new song out of current song, like here. In my projects, FX channels and group channels have special colors that differs from this palette, and you can set up this in preferences. Also, I put my mixing versions into the project to compare them with the current state. Like when I make new version of a project, I do export and put it back into my project, so I could know if I'm going in the right direction or not. Sometimes I think that my previous version was better than my current version, so I will go back and do like I did before. Also, I'm trying to use built-in plugins of Cubase, because it's really annoying to install third-party plugins and open old projects. But in this project I have some paid third-party plugins. One of them is a top, the old one, but it's just working like limiter and a little bit of stereo imagining, and here I make my bass to be mono, also harmonic exciter, just a little bit here on heights and mids. This can be easily replaced by a regular limiter. MWaveShaper is the plugin that I don't know how to replace. I think it's unique. It's there is only one waveshaper like that on the market, and it's very powerful and versatile. Also, I have few spectrum analyzers. One for close lookup, what's going on with the wave, and another one just to have on this spectrum analyzer I can check how my bass and kick working together, their levels. I check their levels. LFO tool I use for sidechain, vocodex I use for sound design, reverb I use for vocoder, OTT is free. I have isotope trash for sound design. One more important tool is track spacer. It's a dynamic equalizer that can be sidechained. In this project I use it to when toms play, hi-hats get ducked. So most of the plugins here are just equalizers and reverbs, waveshapers, and also a few paid plugins. But this project will work fine without all of that plugins. For example, for my sub I draw sidechain manually, like when my kick hits, my bass get ducked here. The main reason why I wanted to show you this project, actually to stress your attention at wave shaping, because usually people don't understand what does wave shapers do, and for making a hot mix wave shapers is crucial. And actually there is no a good wave shaper in Cubase. I think even Cubase 11 doesn't have any good waveshaper. You'd better get one. MWaveShaper is the best one, and also I like a free one called GClip. This one is good too for overall wave shaping. It just has hard clipping or soft clipping. You don't have much settings here, but maybe when I want something more sophisticated, a little bit like here, I use MWaveShaper. So yeah, Cubase by default doesn't have any waveshaper, or it has some, but I don't know if it's really waveshaper or not. Maybe Quadrafus could be a waveshaper, but it's not visual, and I couldn't understand how it works. With MWaveShaper and GClip, I can know better what's going on. Another thing that I would like to show you, that my bass is this channel is divided into two channels, this one and this one. Like here, my bass group doesn't have any output, and it has two sends, upper bass and lower bass. This project is first time I implement this feature. I always knew about it. I heard it from interview of Noisia, and this project is first time I'm doing it. It works really good. To split my bass into two bands, this plugin Gaffel helps me. As you can see, when you tune the split, another instance know about it. So I'm splitting it into two bands, the low and the rest. Also, after splitting my bass on my sub, I use limiter, and here you can see that I have plus 13 decibels because I won't bring all low frequencies to the same level. So I crank input and all my lows get the same level. Then I have frequency to cut off 30 Hz because maybe it's too low, and I decided that I can cut off it. Also, I have wave shaping. Compressor is in sidechain mode. Well, in my production I don't use compressors much. I think they are overrated. And my main tools are limiters and wave shapers. Usually I use compressors for sidechaining something, and in this case my sub have been sidechained by a kick, I guess. Yeah, despite I draw this manual automation curves, I still use sidechain, and the sidechain is very fast. Like you cannot hear it because the attack and release is very quick. My high bass, at the beginning of my chain, I also bring all the sound that you can hear. I bring all the frequencies to the same level with the help of limiter, and then I use Gaffel to split my signal, and then frequency to split it again, just to be sure that there is no any low frequencies on this channel. Then wave shaping, then disperser. Disperser is not very necessary actually. It just makes sound more soft, I think. It's not crucial part of sound of the sound design. It just makes sound more soft, as I can hear it. So the disperser is not necessary plugin here. Anyway, main idea of this video, that for music was heavy bass. This is a good technique to split your bass into two bands, like sub bass with all your sounds and the high bass. This works really great. Also, I have here a group that called 0dB. I never touch fader at this group, but all sounds that you can see in my project, they goes to bass, drums, 0 dB or music. So I can mute all of this, and I hope nothing will play. Yeah, I missed something. My recently added percussion. But actually all my brooding goes to these 4 groups, and then I can tune the balance between them. And then these 4 groups go to stereo out. I have this piano here. When I make drop, it helps to my ears to hear the right tonality, because when you're working with low frequencies, it's really hard to keep the right pitch between all these short and quick sounds. So to put all these songs in the right pitch, and also this, so I was sure that I'm making my drop in the right tonality. I use piano. The sounds in the drop, I made them directly in this project. Also sub. Another version. At some point I tired of making different sounds, and I wanted to add some diversity, so I found some bass riffs in a sample pack like this. But actually, I don't know, maybe 80% of the song is made of custom samples. Also, I wanted to tell you about this part, like 2 audio tracks. It's 2 takes. I deleted the original synth. It's like bouncing of my MIDI performance. I did 2 records and kept only left or right part to make it wider. Also, I was going through some samples and I found this. But then I decided to recreate it with my own sound, because I don't remember. Maybe it's too dirty, that's why I decided to make my own version. To feel the digital silence, that is pretty scary, I guess. I put this bounced granulizer. I don't know, can you hear it? It really helps to feel digital silence, and it helps your brain to keep working. And don't worry that the music sounds too empty. Also, I like few more free VST effects. It is G-Low. It's a low-pass filter, and I like its slope. I like how it works. I like that when you fully open it, it doesn't affect your sound. So when it's 100% open, it doesn't do anything to your signal. And when you have 20 Hz, you cannot hear anything. So this filter is very well tuned, unlike filters built in Cubase. Like, I never automate this filter. It's not very fast. It's precise, but it's not fast. When you try to automate it, I can hear steps in the sound. So I don't use this kind of filter. And also Cubase has dual filter. I don't like it because when you put it into insert, it already cut your high frequencies or low frequencies, so this dual filter is not convenient. I don't like it. So I have G low in this project. I have G high. I really like these filters, their algorithm. Also, I use GClip. It's a general saturator, waveshaper, has oversampling and very easy to use. And also this part, it's very visual, and it helped me to understand how wave shaping works, because before this plugin I never use wave shaping, and my mixes always sounded weird because my main tool was limiters, and limiters work in another way, not like wave shapers. So you can push your mixes harder when you use wave shaper. Also, I would like to point your attention that my production is heavily relied on cloned clips, like cloned audio parts or MIDI clips. I cannot imagine making music without this feature. Actually, it's one of my favorite features in Cubase. So when I make some change in one MIDI clip, I'm sure that all other MIDI clips are okay. And if I have some unique MIDI clips, I just color them in a different color, so I know that changes here won't be reflected here. Also, I can use different names for parts to make sure that they're not the same, like that. And this I will call, for example, 2. So I know here 1, here 2. Also, I would like to tell you about the sound design of my main bass. I like that in Cubase routing is very convenient, and I split, like here you can see that this channel goes to bass, but also it sends the signal to a fixed channel. So I split this sound into 2 parts, and then I process them differently. Let me find. Yeah, so this channel goes into this group. I don't have any processing here. Also, it goes into this group, and there is a lot of processing, but it's only high part of the signal. So then this and these channels go into this one. And together. And with sub. So yeah, if you want some interesting sounds, just split your signal into bands and process them in a different way. One of things that I didn't notice when I was a beginner, that most of sounds have reverb, especially basses in drum and bass. Usually they have some short reverb, and it gives them more space and more fatness. So not every bass in this song has reverb, but some of them does. Like this does have. This one has. It has reverb and vocoder, and actually just some voice. And OTT. The main feature of OTT is upward compression. It really beefs the sound, and upward compression sounds really amazing, and it's not common for Cubase, because Cubase until 11th version didn't have any upward compressors. I guess now Squasher is upward compressor, but before there was no any upward compressors in Cubase. Even more cool technique to put the reverb before the distortion, and it works pretty well too. While retuning hotkeys in Cubase, I made write automation and toggling write automation to be just one key, W. I can switch it on pretty fast. And a lot of times I manually draw automation like this. My write automation is on, and I'm moving my mouse here, so this way I can make automation changes. Pretty cool feature, I like it a lot and I use it a lot. Another thing that I did recently, I assigned mute object to X. I've noticed that I move my left hand a lot to press delete and mute object to the right part of my keyboard. So now I use X to mute objects and D to delete them, because by default D is not very handy hotkey. It just brings this selection tool to the cursor. So I reassigned it to easily delete different parts. Really convenient. I have this woman voice that is saying arrival. I made it online. There is some speech generator website, so I put their word arrival. I recorded it, and I put a plugin called Relayer. It's a tap delay. I guess Cubase 10.5 already has this kind of plugin. Its feature is that it repeats the sound a certain amount of times. So it's very convenient if you don't want to mess with delays, feedback, and automate its tail. Just use step delay. But this plugin is paid, so I will bounce this track. I just wanted you to know how I made it and what type of delay is here. Few words about plugin MSED. It's a plugin from Voxengo that gives you an opportunity to control mid and side gain. This is a functionality that is not available in Cubase, except that you can use frequency and mid-side equalizers. Yeah, there is advanced techniques when you can process only mid or only a side of signal and put some plugin between two instances of MSED. But in this case I'm just making my mid gain 0 and side gain -7 decibels. That's all. But there is no any analog in Cubase of such thing. Sub in this project is made by Sytrus, because, well, actually I don't know why. Because it can wave shape sine wave a little bit. I could make a better sound here than in Serum. So in this track I used sub from Sytrus, but I will bounce it because this plugin crashes sometimes. And few more words about the final mastering. My track is not the loudest track that is possible to make, because I wanted to leave some dynamic there. I could push even harder and make it really squashed. I didn't want that, and it's not that necessary for this genre. But if you have isotope 5, that's okay. If you don't have, nothing will happen actually, because it just makes the track a little bit brighter, and it has a little bit of limiting here. After isotope I still have limiter that is pushing my signal to 1 dB, and it has very quick release. When the release is so quick, it means that sometimes the signal will clip when this limiter is working. So it becomes a little bit like clipper, because 0.1 millisecond it's very quick. So if you push signal too much, it will become just straight line at 0 dB. And after the limiter I have again this waveshaper with the softness 15%. It means that it will not make my for example bass squashed. Let me show you one of my exports. When you push the signal too hard into WaveShaper, it makes it like that. It makes this straight line at 0 dB. This is what WaveShaper do. Limiters usually don't do things like that. So with this softness option, you can choose if you want to make your signal squashed or not. If the softness will be 0 dB, there is bigger chance that your signal will get clipped. And if you have softness like 15+%, that it won't. I already told you about this oscilloscopes, and also I have correlation meter because I have heavy custom samples, so maybe I should check if everything is alright with the phase at different frequencies. And also, oh no, it's just another wave observer. So, mattering tool, limiting tools, that's it, nothing. Also this fab filter that doesn't do much. It saturates my high frequencies. I like Saturn more than, actually you can do the same with quadraphase. They are almost the same, except that it can be 2 band or 3 bands, and quadraphase can be only 1 band or 4 bands. And if you want only 2 bands, you maybe have to do like this and bypass this and then use 2 bands. It's okay too, but I use Saturn, and it doesn't do much as well. Just makes my high frequencies above 150 Hz more saturated, and so more audible, more loud. You can hear. It's literally, it doesn't do much. So the point is this WaveShaper and then few limiter clip. Just I did a lot of tries and experiments. So I did a lot of this mix downs. You can listen to them so you could find out which mix you like the best. And also I have 2 reference tracks. I have set up my references like I said in one video. Like I have 2 output groups, stereo out and stereo out 2, and my references are going to stereo out 2, so I can switch between them and compare my music to another track pretty quick, and I think it's more convenient than using a control room. Alrighty, I have deleted all unnecessary stuff. I will bounce some plugins. Also, the project will work fine without isotope or without any plugin. It will still work fine because I don't use much inserts, I don't use much effects. Most of my processing are equalizers in channel and yeah, regular stuff. I will put free plugins in the folder that will go with the project, and you can copy the plugins into your VST-X64 plugin folder and Cubase will pick them up. So to conclude, I'm making this video to tell you that splitting the whole bass into 2 parts is very great production tip. Also, using waveshapers and understanding how they works is very important. Cubase doesn't give you all necessary tools by default, and waveshaper from Melda is thing that you need to get as soon as possible. So thanks for attention, and leave your feedback, and feel free to ask me any questions.